day my daughter called me, her voice trembling with silent tears, I knew something was terribly wrong. She tried to sound normal, saying, "I'm fine, Mama," but a mother's heart always knows when her child is breaking inside. It had been only 6 months since her wedding, a celebration filled with laughter, promises, and blessings. But now, the same girl who once dreamed of a happy home sounded like she was living in a nightmare. My hands shook as I held the phone, trying to calm her down, but she kept whispering, "They don't like me, Mama. They make me feel unwanted." That night, I didn't sleep. My mind kept replaying every moment of her wedding, wondering where we went wrong, how love could turn so cruel in such little time. At first, I thought maybe it was just adjustment problems, the kind every new bride faces. I told her to stay patient, to give her in-laws time to understand her. But as weeks passed, her messages became shorter, her voice duller, her laughter completely gone. When I visited her one afternoon unannounced, the sight that greeted me shattered my heart. My daughter stood near the kitchen, her face pale and eyes swollen. Her mother-in-law barked orders at her while her husband sat silently, scrolling on his phone. I forced a smile and greeted them, pretending not to notice the tension. But deep down, I knew my daughter was being mistreated. She hugged me tightly when no one was watching, her tears soaking my shoulder as she whispered, "Please don't say anything, Mama." It broke me to leave her there, in that house that didn't feel like a home. I returned again and again, hoping things would change, but every visit left me more disturbed. Her father-in-law criticized everything she did, from the way she cooked to how she dressed. Her husband never defended her. He had become cold, distant, almost a stranger. I begged her to come home, but she refused, saying she didn't want to bring shame to our family. That's the curse of many daughters. They suffer in silence, fearing society more than their own pain. Each time I looked at her, I saw my once bright child fading into someone timid and afraid. I prayed every night for strength, for her and for myself. One day, the situation reached a point I could no longer bear. My daughter called me sobbing uncontrollably. Her mother-in-law had slapped her for accidentally spilling tea on the table. My heart stopped. I wanted to rush there immediately, but she begged me not to. "If you come, it'll get worse, Mama," she said. I felt helpless, torn between my love and my fear. That night, I called my brother Tariq. He had always been the calm yet fierce one in our family, the kind of man who stood up for what was right no matter who stood against him. I told him everything, every single detail I had hidden for months. There was silence on the phone for a long time. Then his voice came, steady, angry, protective. "Don't worry, sister. Tomorrow I'll go with you." The next morning, Tariq and I went to her in-laws' house. He looked calm, but his eyes carried a storm. When we entered, the atmosphere was tense. My daughter came out of her room, startled to see us. She looked thinner, her eyes dull and hopeless. Her mother-in-law appeared with a forced smile, greeting us politely. Tariq didn't waste a moment. "We need to talk," he said firmly. They tried to act innocent, pretending they didn't understand, but when Tariq began asking questions, their pretense started to crumble. My daughter's husband shifted uncomfortably. His father's face hardened, and the mother-in-law kept interrupting, denying everything. But Tariq wasn't there to play games. He had already seen the truth in my daughter's eyes. When Tariq asked my daughter directly if she was being mistreated, she hesitated. Tears welled up as she looked down, unable to speak. Her silence was louder than any confession. Tariq stood, his voice rising just enough to command respect. "You people talk of honor and respect, yet you treat someone's daughter like a servant? Shame on you." The room went quiet. No one dared to reply. Her husband tried to defend his parents, saying, "Uncle, you don't understand." But Tariq cut him off sharply. "No, son, you don't understand what marriage means. It's about protecting, not destroying. It's about love, not humiliation." The words hung heavy in the air. My daughter wept silently, her hands trembling. After that confrontation, things changed quickly. Tariq made it clear that if they ever laid a hand or spoke cruelly to her again, he would take legal action. He didn't threaten, he promised. The in-laws, embarrassed and fearful of losing their reputation, softened their tone. But my daughter was broken inside. She couldn't trust their kindness anymore. Tariq took her by the hand and said, "You're coming home for now." I expected her husband to stop us, but he didn't even look up. That silence hurt more than words ever could. We brought her home, and for the first time in months she slept peacefully, under her mother's roof, safe and loved. Days turned into weeks, and slowly she began to heal. We never pushed her to talk. We just let her be. She started helping in the kitchen, laughing again, sitting in the garden with a book just like she used to. I saw my daughter return piece by piece. Tariq would visit often, bringing her small gifts, flowers, her favorite snacks, even a notebook saying, "Write what you feel, niece. Don't let it rot inside." She smiled at him one day and said, "You saved me, Uncle." He laughed softly and replied, "No, you saved yourself. I just reminded you of your worth." Her husband called once, apologizing, saying he missed her and wanted her back. I listened quietly as my daughter spoke with strength I hadn't heard in her voice before. "I don't want to live where I'm disrespected," she told him calmly. "Love without respect is just a cage." He promised to change, but she didn't believe words anymore. She wanted actions. For weeks he tried to visit, but Tariq made sure no one pressured her. My brother became her shield, her guardian, her silent hero. He treated her like his own daughter, making sure she remembered that being loved means being valued, not controlled. Eventually, her husband began visiting our home, humbler this time. He apologized sincerely, not just to her but to all of us. He admitted his mistakes, saying he had let his parents influence him. Tariq gave him one last chance. "If you hurt her again," he said quietly, "you'll answer to me, and to your own conscience." My daughter watched in silence, tears streaming down her face, not from pain but from relief. It took time, but she decided to give her marriage one last chance, on her own terms. She returned to that house, not as a frightened girl, but as a strong woman who knew her worth. From that day onward, her in-laws treated her differently. They were cautious, polite, almost respectful. It wasn't out of love, perhaps, but out of fear and guilt, and that was enough to give her space to breathe. Her husband truly changed. He began to protect her, to stand by her side. The love that was once weak grew roots again, this time stronger because it had survived fire. My daughter smiled again, and whenever she did, I silently thanked my brother for being her savior when I couldn't. One evening, as the sun set and the house filled with golden light, my daughter said, "Mama, I used to think I was weak, but now I know strength isn't about fighting loudly. Sometimes it's about surviving silently until you find your voice again." I hugged her tightly, tears in my eyes, whispering, "And when you did, you roared like a lioness." Life slowly returned to normal. My daughter started volunteering at a women's support center, helping other women who had gone through similar pain. She used her story to inspire others, to tell them that silence only feeds cruelty, and that asking for help is not shameful, it's brave. Whenever she spoke in those meetings, I saw the same sparkle in her eyes that she had as a child. My brother would attend too, sitting quietly at the back, proud and content. There were still moments of sadness, of memories that hurt, but she learned to live beyond them. She learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about freeing yourself from the weight of anger. Her husband continued to prove his change, little by little, and though it took time, trust began to rebuild. My brother often said, "Sometimes pain is the soil where strength grows," and I realized how true that was. Years passed, but I will never forget the day my brother showed up. He didn't just stand up for my daughter. He reminded all of us that family means standing together when the world turns cruel. My daughter is now a mother herself, teaching her little girl that kindness and strength can live in the same heart. When I watch them together, I know that the darkness she once endured only made her shine brighter. And sometimes, late at night, I whisper a silent prayer of gratitude for my brother's courage, for my daughter's resilience, and for the unbreakable bond that held us together when everything else was falling apart. Because in the end, love and strength always find their way home.